Family, imagine a world where Africa, long portrayed as a continent of struggle, becomes the economic powerhouse, reshaping global power dynamics. Sounds bold? Well, the transition from neocolonialism to a global superpower is not only possible, it's happening right now. Welcome to the Economic Liberation of Africa. I'm your moderator, Peter Grear, and joining me today is our esteemed guest host, Darren Britt. Today we are uncovering the new gold rush, the untapped potential of Africa that's drawing global attention. Stick around to discover how you can be a part of this historic shift. And stay with us until the end when I will reveal the true meaning of the new gold rush. Darren, we've talked about this before, but back in the 50s and the 60s, African countries gained what we call theoretical independence, where the European colonizers gave theoretical control of the African countries to the Africans themselves. But what they did, the neo-colonialists, was to maintain actual control by controlling the finance, the politics, and the other controlling aspects of government. And so, although they were gone from actual control, they still had theoretical control. Tell us a little bit about how the DEI initiatives in the West have affected Black entrepreneurs and what Africa holds in regard to opportunities for Black investors.
Sure, Peter. First of all, thank you for having me. Enjoy these conversations. So the DEI was kind of the remnants of what initially happened with affirmative action. So with the DEI, we were trying to address historic disparities that affected Black people in the U.S. We can see it happening in government contracts where Black people, women, veterans, they didn't have the same access to the government contracts that white people had. So the DEI initiative was to help with some of those things. It was put in place to help with people that may have had the financial ability but were restricted from investing in certain things. And I think I spoke about this the last time, certain franchises. So part of the pushback from the civil rights movement was telling people, well, hey, we want to take advantage of these opportunities as well, but we're limited based on the restrictions. Well, not even restrictions. It's pretty much just, let's call it what it is, the racism that was being imposed amongst government, amongst business, schools, just the corporate world in terms of jobs, even in the construction. I remember going to school, and some of the people that I went to school with in high school went on to trade schools, you know, the electricians and the automotive repair. And they would tell me stories on how when they graduated, they couldn't get a job. They go onto a job site and it was nepotism. Everybody that's there is a cousin, an uncle, and you just couldn't get a foot in the door. So that's what affirmative action and subsequently DEI helped to try to alleviate. But we see now what's happening is any little progress that's made by us is kind of pushed back on, and that's where we're at now.
So you want to continue?
Well, that's what, in terms, I guess, your next segment, that's going to create the opportunities that we are looking forward to. But
we'll talk about that as we go. Family, have you noticed this rollback in your community and business environment? Comment below if you've experienced discrimination because of DEI rollback. So whether or not you see Black entrepreneurs being limited, because it seems that every day there's a new legislative plan to cut out DEI and try to prevent Black entrepreneurs from getting public contracts. They want them all to go to the, I won't call them neocolonialists, because in America they're just the powers that be, and the powers that be do not include Black people. There are several countries, a growing number of countries in Africa, for example, Nigeria, Ghana, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, that are making tremendous strides in economic development. They've kicked out the French, and not all instances were the French controlling all of these countries, but by and large, the French were the biggest colonialists in these northern African countries. And when these countries kicked out the French, they began to prosper. Tell us a little bit about the trade that's going on in Africa and why it has so much promise for diaspora investors.
So, yeah, my understanding, the African Continental Trade Agreement is going to allow the intercontinental commerce trade tariff-free. So it's pretty much going to unshackle some of the control that's been there for so many decades under the neo-colonialist foot. So to allow countries to trade intercontinentally is going to be huge, and the free movement of not only commerce but people. So the lifting of restrictions in terms of cross-border travel to allow people to move, and that's how you stimulate an economy. That's how economies grow. We mentioned earlier in terms of Europe, that's what they did, to allow that free transfer of goods, services, and people, human capital, as well as the products and services. So I think it's going to be huge. I think there's a total of 32 countries, if I'm not mistaken, that have signed so far. And there may be more. The last time that I looked, I think there were 32 that have agreed to it. Some of what's taking place is China's helping out with the highway system. Ghana and Burkina Faso just made an agreement for the rail system to go through both of those countries. So it's very exciting to see what's taking place. In addition, and I didn't mention this earlier, but I know two of the biggest tech companies are creating this cabling system, fiber optic cable, that's connecting Australia with South Africa and other parts of Africa. And I think that is Google and Meta, Facebook, that have billions of dollars they're investing in the communication with fiber optic cabling underneath the ocean floor. So we can see what's happening on a large scale with what's taking place now.
Thank you so much. Family, I know many of you are watching what's going on in Africa. Drop a comment below and tell me where you think the best place in Africa is for diaspora investments. Thank you. Let's continue. There is much development going on in Africa. The technology, agriculture, real estate, mining, tourism, the opportunities go on and on and on. Tell us a little bit about what you're hearing about the opportunities and successes taking place in Africa.
Wow. So I've been binging on a lot of this YouTube content for so long now to see all of the people that are doing things from all over the world. You know, you have diasporans, as we know, spread all over. But I just recently booked my first tour. I'll be on the continent in July. And lo and behold, the person that I'm booking the tour through is the co-chair of the UK chapter of ADDI. So he started a tourism company. And I was a little reluctant because he didn't have a whole lot of content in terms of reviews and things of that nature. But it turns out it's because it's pretty new. But it's True Culture Travel. And I'll be traveling with him in July for about 2 weeks in Ghana. So that's just one. Tourism is huge. We know through the Afro Future Fest that created a lot of interest in traveling to Ghana as well as Africa. So the tourism industry alone, in and of itself, is booming. There is two gentlemen, as a matter of fact, that have the largest podcast right now called EYL, Earn Your Leisure, and they have another one on Market Monday. So they teach financial literacy, but they have a huge project they're doing along with one of the gentlemen that developed the Afro Future Fest, a huge real estate development project for diasporans and Ghanaians, people from all over. They partnered with several other real estate developers and an activist, so they're building a project there. So just to see so many stories is just so exciting right now.
It is, and I guess it's fair that we tell our listeners how we met. We're both members of the African Diaspora Development Institute, run by Dr. Arikana Chihambo Required, that I contend is the most consequential Black leader in the world today. Well, she may be second today to Captain Ibrahim Traore, but he is a product of much of her activism. Family, if you had to make a choice about what industry you would invest in Africa, what would that choice be? How about dropping a comment below and just telling us what industry you have an interest in and why you have that interest? We'd love to hear from you and share your ideas with our listeners as we go forward. Thank you. Darren, we've discussed how essential it is for Black entrepreneurs in the diaspora to build business relationships on the continent so that we can build international businesses and actually scale Black businesses, turn them from a mom and pop to international, turn our newfound relationships into distributorship. We need to be selling Black products worldwide. We need to be buying Black products worldwide. There are many, many things that we can do. And as we talk about going forward with our development of Africa, I want Black folk to remember that 40, 50 years ago, India was an undeveloped Asian nation. China was an undeveloped Asian nation, and multinational corporations outsourced jobs to India and China, and now they're both superpowers. What they did when they did the outsourcing, they also did a transfer of knowledge. And that's what we need to do. The diaspora entrepreneurs need to have a transfer of knowledge and a relationship building process with Africans on the continent. Tell me, Darren, are you getting success stories from Blacks that are engaged in this kind of thing or that are successful because they've invested in Africa?
Oh yeah, well, the first one that comes to mind, I was unfortunately not able to make his tour, but I've connected with a gentleman, a brother out of Georgia, Bomani Taimba, and he runs Africa for the Africans. He's been giving tours to all parts of Africa, several parts of Africa for like around 10 years now. And he's also developing a Pan-African community. There's another gentleman that I interviewed not too long ago that's a Wall Street executive that him and his wife decided to relocate to Ghana. His expertise is in managing investments. So he used the Barack Obama's legislation to allow everyday investors to do crowdfunding. I don't know if people know that, but that was legislation that Barack Obama got into play, because typically you had to be an accredited investor to invest in startup companies, but he kind of lowered the bar to allow people like us to take advantage of it. So these conversations and what we're doing now is important. So Dale, I did the interview with him, and he is doing in senior housing. It's the not for totally disabled seniors, but it's an avenue for people that are still like active living type of seniors. Because we know there's a significant portion of people in the US, Black people specifically, that their primary retirement is Social Security. And it's becoming increasingly unaffordable to live in the United States. So it's an option for people that may not have the ability to build from the ground up or the amount of money saved to purchase a condo or something like that of that nature, because it's extremely expensive here. So that's an avenue. It's not a business model that is, I don't even think it's on the continent at all, but he's done his research and realizing that there is a marketplace. You have retired teachers, people from the police department, from all walks of life in the US that now can potentially have an opportunity to have their dollars go further. Because there's several countries where you can have dual citizenship that allows you to collect your pension, or in this case, your Social Security, while you're living outside of the US.
Thank you. Family, are you a part of the African diaspora that is considering investing in the motherland? If so, how are you moving forward? If not, why not? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Darren, as you know, Africa is the center of attention for many nations around the world. But there are two that are in the forefront in regards to building relationships with various African countries. And they are Russia and China. And I remind our audience that neither Russia nor China was a colonizer in Africa. As a matter of fact, during the 50s, 60s, and beyond, both China and Russia were big supporters of the African liberation movement. So now with the new rise in Africa, international relationships are being built in ways that in the past were just not possible. So Africa is rising, they're building international relationships, and we are part of it. And so we have to continue this conversation so that more of us will get into the discussion and take advantage of the opportunities that a rise in Africa is creating. What do you have to say about that, Darren?
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, as you said, I know Russia had a factor in Nelson Mandela and that movement for sure. And I know China's done some things. Now we can say it's a level of soft diplomacy, but you're right, there was no colonization involved, and you can be strategic in terms of helping somebody out for future benefits, because I know China did some things in Tanzania as well in that area decades ago, which makes sense. So you're seeing in the States how the US's so-called soft diplomacy with the USAID has been eliminated and people losing jobs. And so, yeah, we do need somebody to fill in that void to give us a leg up to keep moving up the socioeconomic ladder. So I do like it, but being cautious is important as well, because we don't want anybody to take advantage. So that's kind of my thoughts on that.
Thank you. Family, do you believe Black economic solidarity can truly reshape corporate accountability? Drop your thoughts below. And lastly, I promised at the beginning of this video that I would tell you what the real new African gold rush is. The new gold rush in Africa is really the black talent all over Africa that is university trained, underemployed, waiting on diasporan entrepreneurs to build relationships and take advantage of the wonderful multiple opportunities that are available all over Africa. So the new gold rush is really about the people in Africa that are ready to do business and help us build international companies owned and operated by black people, a black economy that's not dependent upon multinational corporations to do DEI. Let them come to Africa and ask for some DEI. So thank you, audience. Thank you, Darren. If you believe in the conversation that we're having and you want to become a part of it, please like, share, and comment on our videos. And until we have a new topic for discussion, keep the faith, and we will revisit this conversation again. Thanks again, and Darren, thank you ever so much for taking your time and having this discussion. We'll keep doing this.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you. This is important.